Yo, welcome back. Episode 280. Ridiculous.
280. Damn, first time I ever said the number 80 in my life in
I don't
Portuguese.
think that this is my first time saying the number 280. What is going on here? Really ridiculous. We got Holly in the building from Canada.
Freezing cold Canada.
28 degrees / -2 Celsius.
Goddamn.
We don't get 28s out here. I'll tell you
No,
that right now.
The slim 75 right now.
We might get a 39. We might get like a 36. But
Holly even look cold for it. Goddamn. Holly going through it out there.
Yeah, I'm in layers.
it gets
I have
colder.
a bunny. What's it called? What'd
Bunny
you say?
hug.
Bunny hug on right now.
What?
It's cold.
Right? It's not called bunny hug here.
What the hell's a bunny hug?
Apparently, it's just a hoodie.
It's a hoodie.
It's a Central Canada term.
Central? Isn't that like what they have like
No.
rodeos and stuff? Why would you know that?
It's colder on the 39th floor, you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is.
Another question, Holly, can you play that ukulele in the back there? Can you play that?
No, it's decoration.
Oh, okay. I can't really tell.
It's
Real. Anyway, episode 280. You already know what we're talking about. The Cristiano Ronaldo interview has come out in full, and we all watched it in its completion. I think two of us took notes.
You?
And Holly and
I did not take notes.
okay, well, Caesar, I'm just gonna let you know that we're gonna go chronological order. You better not be skipping around.
Okay.
But before
I never skip around.
right. But before we get into that, there's something actually really important happening on Sunday. You might think I'm talking about the World Cup, but I'm not. I'm talking about the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is happening in Canada. Holly's home team, Toronto Argonauts, are playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the CFL.
Those are great names, though. I do like the Blue Bombers and Argonauts. That's a great name. It's better than the Washington Nationals and the Commanders.
Holly,
I didn't even know that, actually.
On a 1 to 10, how much do you care about that?
-5.
Wow.
Okay.
Better company shows the channels too. Wow, I'm reporting her.
Yeah.
I've seen, but oddly enough, I've seen a Toronto Argonauts game like when I was like 12.
Okay. That was the last time?
The first and last time.
I'm a BC Lions fan personally.
Okay. I like the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's the best name of all time. That's the best
Roughriders
name of all time. Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Can you name any player ever in the CFL?
Me?
Yeah.
Pinball Clemens.
Okay, that sounds like a long time ago.
Flex. Who?
I just know because he was okay. I do know he was like the coach of the Argos. I think after being a player, obviously.
Okay. Caesar,
I'm pretty sure.
Caesar, can you name anybody that played in CFL?
Yeah, Chad Ochocinco.
Oh, come on.
That's a cop out.
Well, let me get a real one, dog.
I don't know. Dwayne Johnson. I don't know.
All right. I know a few, but
really? Didn't Joe Warren play up there too or something like that?
Who?
Joe Warren? I don't know.
Warren Moon played in the
Warren Moon. Yeah, I'm sorry. I prefer NFL Europe. That's what I'm talking about. That's my shit right there.
Michael Bishop.
I remember the CFL games would come on, and I'm like, "What is this? Like, what?"
That field is weird.
Yeah, it would like come on like in like August or something. I'm like, "What?" It'd be like, "Oh, it's the end of the season." I'm like, "What? Preseason NFL about to start? What are they doing?"
It's still snowing.
Yeah, I'm like, what
the 3 down rule.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
different rules. Yeah,
I knew like when I went to University of Hawaii, like a lot of the players would get scouted by CFL teams and stuff. So a bunch of them would go play up there.
That's cute.
They're in Japan, which is very weird to say. They went to play in Japan or they went to play in Canada.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, we do have the World Cup starting on Sunday. We got some
foreign matchups.
We got some rough times for us on the West Coast of the United States. Hollies are not. Hollies are better, but they're still
Not
early as
great.
hell.
Yeah.
They're like, I know you wake up early for everything, but you're gonna keep waking up early. Like, okay.
Well, also like 2 a.m. Like, what do? Like, do you leave the club and just turn on the game?
Do you stay up for the game or do you go to bed and get up for the game? Like,
I don't know
probably stay up on and stay on demon hours.
exactly.
Yeah, probably.
But then you
You
start
know?
texting at
Yeah,
halftime.
just demon hours. 12. Yo, what are you doing? Wait, it's the World Cup question, I swear.
You might send a hey stranger at 2:45
Yeah,
a.m.
you gotta get through your phone. So drop in some haze with two Y's, the random people you haven't talked to in a while.
The halftime's gonna be boring as hell. You're like, hey.
Halftime is at 2:45 a.m. Come
Something like
on,
that.
dog.
That's why I delete numbers. Anyway, all right, guys, we had a monumental interview with Cristiano Ronaldo. We got part 1 yesterday with Piers Morgan.
Boo.
Part two was today.
Boo.
And I would like to start from the beginning. I take real notes here. You know what I mean? I got a whole
You
page.
can read them.
And I got a whole nother page in part 2. But just to like start it out, Piers asked him like why he's doing the interview. He was like, it's time, and he said, I like you.
That was the first red flag. He said he liked Piers Morgan.
I had a couple red flags.
That's literally my
definitely a red
first
flag.
note.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first note
Someone
is
says they like
Ronaldo
Piers
likes
Morgan.
Piers.
That's a red flag.
All right. I think he mentioned early that fans are the most important thing in football. Maybe that was also a red flag for Holly.
No.
I'm joking. So I kind of like the most like the first like impactful thing I'll say was that he talked about how it was close for him to go to Man City, but he said that he has a lot of love for Manchester United and he doesn't regret going to Manchester United. And he said that he asked Sir Alex Ferguson, and Sir Alex Ferguson was like, "You better goddamn not go to City." Go to City. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, like, to be honest, which I guess we'll get to this later on because it was mentioned a few times in the interview, the second part, but I personally would always have assumed that Ronaldo was like a money guy. So I thought, oh, City, well, they'll be one of the only ones other than United that could afford him. So it did seem realistic to me. The fact that he didn't go because of loyalty, I mean, cool, thanks. I mean, personally, okay, it's funny though, because if he did go to City, I would have totally called him a traitor. But because even if he came to United, I'm just like, whatever. I'd prefer neither, but if I had to choose, it was yeah, it was
It was a lose-lose for him for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, he did admit that it was very, very close. And like
Yeah.
it was only within a matter of a couple of days, which makes sense because I think everyone was kind of shocked by the fact that he actually did come to United.
I think he mentioned that he talked to Pep too.
Yeah, he talked to Pep and then most importantly, like Ferguson, which probably maybe sealed the deal or made like, really set his mind up. But
Caesar, what do you think? Would you like to see him at City?
I was like, damn, what a mistake that was. Being loyal, Jesus. It cost you so much. It probably would have been an entirely different situation for him completely.
right now, yeah.
He went like I like, he would have went to, instead of being like 3 coaches and in 2 seasons, he would have had the same coach, probably would have won, probably had a good time. I don't know. Damn. But I mean, it did kind of speak to a lot of the stuff he's kind of always kind of preached, about how much Alex Ferguson meant to him and etc. So it makes sense. And I remember at the time him going to Man City, I remember us talking about it. It seemed like a lock. And then it was making me question like some of the reporting because I'm like, what? And then he even said it in there. He's like, yeah, last minute, basically, I had a conversation with Ferguson. I've talked to Pep, and then Ferguson was like, you better not go there. And he was like, all right, bet. Like, I mean, that speaks to loyalty. I mean, he's always even when he was at Real Madrid, he spoke really highly of Man U and the Man U
Mhm.
fans. And I remember there'd be games where they would still like do Ronaldo chants while they were playing. So that's kind of consistent. That was like a consistent thing that I would expect to have heard when he I expect all the things he says about Man U fans and Man U stuff. Like I expect that. Like that's nothing that's like shocking to me at all.
Yeah, for sure. It would have been kind of ugly to see him there, for sure. But you know, he went to Man U and he got to play with the most, like he got to play with the best center forward ever. Maybe he got to play with maybe one of the probably the best athlete of all time, Edinson Cavani. Like he got to play with Cavani, so like that's probably the thing that actually. Sir Alex Ferguson was like, "Dude, don't you want to go play with Cavani? Like, what's wrong with you?"
I don't think so. Ever said the word Cavani in his life.
Okay, see,
I'm just kidding. I'm just
okay, so then it started to get a little bit spicy.
kidding.
Um, they started to talk about the state of the club, and he mentioned that he was surprised that a lot of things were the same at the club as they were 13 years ago. He said nothing's changed since 2009 in regards to the infrastructure. He talked about like the pool, the jacuzzi, the kitchen, but he did shout out the kitchen staff.
I thought that was I thought that was cute.
Yeah. He said that Man U was behind in a lot of ways, and he said there was like zero progress compared to teams that he had been on, like Real Madrid and Juventus. So, Holly, how did you feel hearing that part?
Honestly, that wasn't surprising to me at all. I think it's pretty obvious that like United are behind on a lot of things. Whether that's, maybe we're not aware of like the infrastructure, the training grounds and stuff, but the fact that he said nothing has changed in 13 years doesn't surprise me. I think they're behind on a lot of things, like back of the house, like on the pitch, the way things are run. It even goes down to, I've always thought like the way their website. Have you ever gone on Manchester United's website? It is
Never.
hideous. It is horrendous.
It's so true.
It's like it's a terrible website. It's just awful.
We're going right now.
Like it's just everything that is run by Manchester United is very outdated. So
How did you feel about him calling it out publicly?
I don't know. I don't think it should really be a surprise to anyone.
I mean, I was surprised. I mean, I wouldn't like. I feel like we've seen in the past 10 years and some change, like countries like Spain and Italy have a big financial crises, and England didn't really suffer the way that those countries did. And also, EPL has only raised its profile. So I'm kind of shocked that Man U is lagging behind in things like that. I would expect that they'd be at the forefront. I've seen them players at Real Madrid in preseason having some contraption on their chest, running, doing some like fitness training. Like it seems like, because he mentioned technology too. Like it seems like Man U is not doing none of that, and it kind of shows in the way they play.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, and I never I didn't like obviously I'm not surprised by those but I'm surprised. I'm not surprised in looking at their performances, dating back to basically when he left, like their results and like what just basically all they've really done is what Europa League. That one season is kind of a major trophy they won.
Yeah.
And this drought they've been having, it's like, yeah, when you line it up, it makes a lot of sense, but I guess I am surprised that I'm surprised the fact that they don't have that stuff because of how much money they have. They have like they're always like top ranked every season, like most richest club, second most richest club, third most richest club, the most richest club. Like every season, I'm always seeing them in that top 3, top 4. So it's disappointing and more actually alarming that they don't have that stuff. Makes you want to wonder why there's so much conversation about Glazers wanting to sell the team and blah blah blah. It's like there's gonna be a lot of eyeballs there because it's like, what are you doing with the money now? And maybe all the times those fans were saying that the Glazers have been pocketing money or like not reinvesting back in the club as much as they should be, kind of resonates with what's going on then. So yeah.
Holly, as a fan, like, how does that make you how does that make you feel as a Manchester United fan?
I mean, like you said, you'd expect a club like Manchester United to have the top technology, the top facilities, like, like that's just like how could you not? And yeah, it goes like they have the money, they have the anything they would need, like the profile, the everything, but they're just not putting the effort into that. And it does, like, it shows. They haven't won anything in, a couple years now. They haven't really done to like it's never there's past few seasons are they're not impressive. Like the signings, sure, like they still are able, that's the only thing they've really been able to do is still kind of maintain the reputation of getting like big names, still not like what it was, or like top tier players in their prime. Like they're kind of getting players that are slowly weaning out and only gonna have a couple years left on them. So I
I
don't know.
wonder. I thought about it. I was like, damn. I remember when Harry came to Man U was like a big rumor, and I wonder if he was like, "Look, I play on Tottenham. We got better shit than they do." Like, he probably was like, I heard about what y'all got going on up there.
And as players, like word like that spreads around. So I'm sure maybe we
Absolutely.
don't really know, but I'm sure players and agents have talked to each other, or players have gone to tour and ability like look at the facilities and like, what the hell? Like,
It's embarrassing, honestly. It's
no,
embarrassing.
it's like that's like a pretty bad thing. That's like oh, it's
Hmm.
not like man, like like it's just we're doing the best we can. Like no, like that's bad. It shows misappropriation with funds. It shows that
It sounds. We'll talk about the Glazers in the part two,
for
but it
sure.
does sound corrupt
No,
almost.
like
Oh
no, that
yeah,
actually sounds like
100%.
legitimate because that's how what happens with corruption, right? Like,
Yeah.
that things aren't being things are like distributed in a way to please people on the outside, but when you see a lack of like proper funding and infrastructure, then you're like, like where's the rest of that money going then? Because we want to know. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Then after that, they were talking about the coaching situations in part one. I think I'll just say this real fast. I think me and Caesar both in the part one, there was like nothing that was said that was like out of line or out of pocket, in my opinion. And Holly,
Uh,
you would agree?
I agree. Yeah,
Okay.
part one was pretty civil.
Yeah.
yeah.
Even though I mean it was a little spicy, but
It
but
was, yeah.
he talked about
I
them
like
bringing
the word symbol.
he talked about them bringing in Ralph Ragnick. He said he
Oh
was
yeah.
surprised. He said that nobody really heard of him, and
Which
that
is false.
I, I never heard of him, but like I don't know everybody. Um,
Okay. I mean, I thought he was like, obviously he's not up there. I just like I'd heard the name, and like I don't follow like sporting directors, so like I just thought he was a bit more well known. Like if Ronaldo apparently didn't know him and Piers Morgan didn't know him, but who cares what he thinks?
well, I think there was a lot of shock in the football world for
For
sure
sure.
when he
Yeah.
came. But Ronaldo said, he said like he was kind of confused by it, but he said that he was respectful. Um, he said that he mentioned that he played for some of the best coaches, and he said he mentioned Zidane, Ancelotti, Mourinho, Fernando Santos, and Allegri, which I thought was really cute.
Yeah.
They talked about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and Ronaldo said that he did a good job, that he needed more time, and he said that he loved him.
Yeah.
Holly, you heard that part? Were you kind of like, oh, a little bit?
Yeah, no, I'm glad that he respected at least like OGS. I mean, it could be because of the history and stuff like that, and he knows like I guess they both have love for the club and stuff, so it's probably just like a mutual like, it could be Ronaldo in that position. I hope it's not in the future, but like technically I guess it could be.
I think
But it was nice. It
he'd be
was
a
nice to
terrible coach. He'd be a terrible coach.
I know.
He didn't know what he was doing.
Um,
um, I thought the same. I thought that the OGS shout out was cool because it kind of is consistent with what Ronaldo said throughout the interview about how he feels when he like talks to former players or teammates. Like he kind of feels like, you're like that whole, like, it is with athletes. Like, it's like once you've played together and you've like had success or whatever, there's like almost like
A fraternity in a lot of
there's a
ways.
fraternity aspect.
Yeah.
So that's why I think you can tell, when, obviously I don't want to skip ahead, but how he feels about other people's comments. But so with that, Ole, I thought that was really cool. Because I never thought he was like horrible either. I was a little, I also was surprised by the Ralph hiring, because I had to do Googling for that. And then also, like, I was really uncomfortable with how, like, much of like that, how Ralph was like handling some of the player stuff, a lot of the public comments he would make in the media, and how he would discuss players. And like, I remember he made a weird comment one time too about players like style or something, or tattoos. I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but okay. So I never really liked the guy, and obviously it showed with the result that it didn't really work out with anybody feeling him either. So yeah, that was when I thought it was like turned up a little bit when they got to those questions. I was like, okay, here we
Yeah.
go.
I think I think probably all of us, we were seeing like a lot of the headlines from before the interview came out. And so I was expecting him to just like shooting heaters at everybody.
Me
yeah.
too. I
Yeah.
thought it was about to be like he's about to just go in like a ether, like he was
I
gonna
thought
just
it was about
stand
to
up
be
and be
like
like everybody, yeah.
Hit 'Em Up by Tupac. I thought
Yeah,
he was
they're gonna play the hit 'em up beat in the
Yeah.
background.
But he mentioned all those coaches he played for, and to my knowledge, Caesar, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he have some friction with Mourinho while he was
He
at Real
did.
Madrid?
He had friction with Mourinho, but like years later, they had both made comments saying that like they're like respect each other. It was just like
Okay.
it was just a disagreement, and because
Yeah.
Ronaldo felt weird about Higuain and stuff like that, it was like
Mm,
a disagreement how he felt tactically. But they showed respect later on afterwards. They have the same agent too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he was respectful calling out all those coaches, and he even
But they
mentioned
had heat when they
Allegri,
played, yeah, for sure. I mean, when he was the coach of the team, yeah.
and then he even mentioned Allegri, and then like what he was saying about OGS, it was like you could easily just be like, yeah, it was fine or whatever, but you could tell there was some genuine affection there between them two.
Yeah.
Then it got a little even more spicy, maybe. He was talking about the younger players. He said that the younger players don't care as much and they don't have the same hunger and they haven't suffered the way like some of the older players have, I guess he's saying.
That's
He
so
said it's
boomer.
he said that it's weird that they don't try to emulate top players. And he said that he did that with, and he mentioned he went down the line. He said he would emulate Van Nistelrooy, Rio Ferdinand, Roy Keane, and Giggs. And he said that that's why he's been so successful. I would imagine Holly hearing those names, he's showing love to those legends of Man U. You're probably like a little bit. Were you like, oh, a little bit about Ronaldo when he was doing that, or no?
No, I don't think I didn't go awe in any part of the video. I mean, like
Okay.
it's I mean, okay, mine is like there's parts that you definitely do feel for him in this interview and in general. But I mean, do I guess I agree. I see where he's coming from in the sense that like some of the younger players aren't working as hard as him.
Well,
Or
let me continue. He said that he doesn't try to give advice to the younger players as much as he tries to be an example. He mentioned he's the first to arrive at training and the last to leave. But I wrote there, you're not the last to leave them games all the time. But then he mentioned like Pierce asked him who are some of the players he likes their mentality. He mentioned Dalot and Martinez, like some of the younger players. He mentioned Dalot and Martinez. And he mentioned Casemiro, but he was like, but he is a little bit older. But he but he also said in regards to the younger players that you can't blame them because he said it's just different now, like as compared to how he grew up. And I think also there is a perception about Ronaldo. I think I know for sure I've had to tell people, and I'm sure Caesar has too, like there's a perception about him that like because of how he looks, that like he came from some like wealthy background or something like that. And he came from the gutter. You know what I mean? Like I I don't know, but I feel like his dad was probably abusive. I mean, he's a war veteran in a colonial war in Africa.
Supposed to be an alcoholic too.
Yeah, I think he died. He drank himself to death. His son started getting in millions. He was like, now I can buy all the liquor I want. I'm trying to get Caesar laugh.
I'm not gonna fall for this.
But like, he didn't come from some like privileged background by any means. And I would imagine him seeing the young players like starting off with a lot. I think we can all tell like some of the young players in any club, they don't have the same drive.
No.
Like you can tell, like I look at who's the guy I always talk about on Chelsea, Kai Havertz. I'm like, this fool look like he do not care, dude. Like he's so Gen Z, just like, yeah, I'm good enough to play. Like it's fine. But I don't know, Holly. Like, did you feel like he was sneak dissing Rashford?
Okay, Rashford's known to like stay back in training and practice all that stuff.
Lifting dumbbells, getting buff.
And then
Is he young?
Those freaking
25 now, right? 24. He's not one of the young guys.
I know. Well, he was also talking about Casemiro though, so I don't know what his
age range is wild.
Yeah, I don't know who. I think he's just talking about anyone younger than him at this point.
Okay,
but I mean, yeah, like I could definitely see it, but I think times are changed, and like I said, that's very like boomer thing to say. Like, oh, these kids don't work as hard these days. Like,
but do you agree?
I mean, maybe. Maybe I just think the game has changed, and like you would say like a younger player back in the 90s working hard is like being tough and like roughing it out, and like I don't know. I think the game has changed, so like there's different ways to work hard. I guess
you can work hard on TikTok. Your followers up.
Yeah.
Caesar, what do you think? What do you think about him saying that?
I thought I was kind of annoyed by it until he said, I thought like annoyed by it in terms of like I don't really like that kind of comments from players to talk about other players and other youth players, because I think that's better addressed in private with youth players and like in your team. I think it's better addressed that way, not like an interview. But I really like that what he said was like, it's not their fault. Like it's the difference in now with like technology and stuff. I thought that was a great point, because I think that's the root of the issue when it comes to a lot of like if you talk about young players and that drive or whatever, it's the access of technology of soccer has expanded so much worldwide that, that whole like, survival of the fittest mentality that a lot of the younger players who come from nothing or, come from different backgrounds get through to get to the top level. That's at that's not as much going on as much, because even in those areas they have such that access to technology. So that's why I think you're not really like, I think if you keep it real, like we probably see a lot of players with potential, but we don't see a lot of like high number of established young talent. Like we're seeing players that like can definitely get to that point, but we're at 1 or 2, whatever. So I don't know, like, Man U gets a lot of young players and it seems like a pipeline where these guys come in and out. And I do kind of agree with him when he talked about the longevity and stuff of these players too, these young players. I feel like it's going to be hindered. He mentioned that too.
He did say that if like basically because they aren't trying to emulate the top players, that they won't last that long. Like they probably fizzle out early.
Yeah, I mean, also let's keep it real. The biggest thing he also credits a lot of like he does credit of his social media presence, but a lot of these young players are so involved in social media that I think that also affects like them at a young level. They think that with this having in their back pocket and their growth on there, it embodies them as a player. Yeah. When really, I think it's the inverse. I think that your play is gonna emulate that. So, yeah, I liked it I liked what he said when he mentioned it's not their fault. It's also the access technology. I think that's much more fair, because you can't really blame players for having this mentality when it's literally thrown and forced upon them at a young age. Like, what are you supposed to do? Oh, I don't get this away from me. Get this chest heart rate monitor away from me. I can do it the hard way. Like that's goofy. Like they're going to use everything that's given to them as a tool.
Well, I think also like you do see some like we've seen the young player who has that kind of like drive. We saw Mbappe. We've seen Mbappe come
Yeah.
up.
It's still gonna happen. I mean, but look at Xavi Simmons. Like they were doing like $1 million transfers from him to switch academy to academy. Like
Yeah,
this is a different era. So it's
yeah,
like,
for sure.
come on, yo. Like he's obviously he's gonna be a little strange.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
You
think
know?
that I think that
A nice way to say it.
we've seen yeah, there's a lot of money and a lot of attention.
Mhm.
And when you're young, that's like dangerous. But I feel like you will see some young players who like their number one focus is the game. Um, we
I have
even
a
seen
question for you, Ben.
we even seen it like with Vinicius Jr., huh?
I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Is it different in terms of the players? Are the players different, or because we have so much more access to exposure, players are getting more credit than they would in the past?
What do you mean by credit?
Like you know how like people always talk about all the talent on these players, like so much more talented young
Oh,
players in
oh,
order.
gotcha.
Is it that there's so much more younger talented players, or we just have much more resources to see these players than we did before? Because maybe if we switch eras, they would have just been kind of like those dudes we don't hear about anyways.
Caesar, one of the worst things about soccer in general is that it's highlight culture.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people that are like trying to watch a whole game and
Yeah.
really judge a player on a whole game. So, yeah, if you see a dude like, his two things they did in a game or three things, and it's like, oh, damn, that's crazy. But it's like, yeah, you watch the whole game, like they're not really that active, you know?
No, for
So,
sure.
so yeah, I think it's that for sure. Like you can have,
That's the technology I think that's affecting them. is
yeah,
this
it's like a short
highlight culture.
yeah, it's a short clip on something. But
Yeah.
also like from a media standpoint, yeah, there's a lot of people who are lazy and they don't want to do the work.
No.
But let's get to the part where Holly was laughing. He talked about the tragedies that he went through. No, I don't know if you guys want to talk about that or you want to skip it because Caesar's laughing now. Jeez,
No, because you're mean, dog.
Holly hates him. I don't know how much he hates
Segue,
him.
Okay,
dog.
okay, like there's, I mean, I don't think there's much to say on it other than it was
Yeah.
very sad
Oh.
that like I mean for us to discuss, like it was very hard. Stop giving me those looks. I'm getting all flushed. It was like, no, that's a very sad thing
Which
for
part was sad?
the loss of his child.
Okay.
And the fact that he really did take next to no time off, and that's never easy to go through. I mean, I don't know personally, obviously, but like that would be a nightmare for anyone. So
Yeah.
and I don't know, the fact that what happened during preseason resulting in him not joining the team, and the fact that apparently the higher ups weren't believing him, like that's pretty sad. The fact, like, it's preseason, so like you feel for him in those sense. That was like I don't want to say it wasn't like a heartwarming part of the interview, but it was like, it did make you really feel for him and like give you that perspective of where he was kind of coming from.
Yeah, he mentioned he thanked the English fans. They were really supportive. I remember the Liverpool fans that singing "You'll Never Walk Alone," and he did have a lot of. I think he said the Queen, like the royal family, sent him a letter, and
Yeah.
he mentioned that he has a little kind of altar for the kids' ashes and his dad's ashes.
Yeah, he says he has he has a
Little
chapel.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, like I thought it was humanizing a moment for him. I think especially with mega celebrities, he reinforced the point that he's like, people forget I'm human too. I did think the preseason thing was kind of strange because out of all the criticisms you can have of Ronaldo, I never thought anybody would have like a criticism of his like dedication to being professional or like trying to show up and play, or like Paul. I never saw him as like trying to like skirt by things. I never seen him as that dude. Like, And like he wasn't like flying to Brazil to hang out with his sister or nothing. So it's
Hang
that's
out.
that's not how I saw Ronaldo. Maybe other people, but so yeah, I mean once again, like we only have so much access to information on the outside. So I thought it was cool. He talked about that, and it was really sad to hear about his child, and obviously his daughter being sick as well too, and it screams toxic work behavior when your employer doesn't believe your reasons for not being able to come into the office and it involving your child. It screams real toxic bad work behavior
Yeah, he talked about his partner
or
Georgina.
conditions. Sorry.
He talked about her like really helping him get through that situation. He kind of hinted at her not having like the best upbringing either. She's from Argentina. And then Pierce asked him when are the wedding bells happening. He was a little iffy about that.
Yeah.
And he was.
He was like, hey, dog, hey.
He's like, I have financials. No.
He was like, we want prenup.
He kept calling
Yeah.
her wife on accident too. I was like, what's going on here, dog?
Yeah, he didn't even be like, oh, girlfriend.
he
They've
did
probably
do that,
been
yeah.
married. They've probably been married.
But
Piers was on his fanboy tip. Oh my
He
god,
was. It was a
dog.
little bit weird.
Jesus.
But Caesar, you
Too
said
much.
something. Caesar, you said something too, like when you're talking about the outside world. He talked about all the negativity in the media, and to be honest with you, like I don't really care that much. But we have had episodes before Holly got here. She wouldn't let us get away with it. But we're like, it seemed like the media is like bullying him to some extent. It's like they're just like fishing for any negative headline about him. When I'm like, no, there's like nothing going on here, dude. Like, and I can't really remember those times necessarily. It was a while ago, but there was sometimes it's overkill. I said like he's a big player, he's the number one guy, so for sure he's going to get criticized. That's going to affect him personally. It doesn't affect me personally, but as a consumer, I'm like, dude, can we find something else to talk about sometimes, because it just gets played out. And I think that I didn't listen to anybody's commentary on the clips, because I haven't seen anything about the actual interview yet. But just based on like the thumbnails, like they're going off, and I don't, especially in this first part, like there was nothing to be like going off about, like nothing. So he does get unfairly criticized from that perspective, but I don't really empathize with it that much, because it's like, yeah, that's just what happens.
Because of territory.
But at the same time, like that's like Piers Morgan and his team releasing those like fire clips that everyone thought would be like that was going to be the whole 90-minute interview. It was just going to be
true. He was
so
baiting
like
it,
he's
too.
doing the same thing, like the
Well,
clickbaity
he's a
stuff.
scumbag. He's a scumbag.
He really is. Like, oh my, like he was so annoying during that interview. I can't believe I watched both of them for that long. But
No, Piers Morgan's garbage.
Well, they talked about, speaking of the criticism, they talked about Wayne Rooney being critical of Ronaldo, and Gary Neville, and it seemed like Ronaldo was kind of like he was bothered by it. He was kind of saying how, these are my former teammates, so I don't know like why they would do this. But he did also mention that Wayne Rooney kids were at his house, and that
like 6 months ago.
Yeah, and the Ronaldo son went to Wayne Rooney's house and played. I'm like, damn, Diane.
That is kind of cold, I'm not gonna lie.
Like, he was just over here.
He was just over here breaking bread at the crib.
You saying that in my face though. But I will say this. I think Ronaldo takes a lot of the stuff really personal. When I think like, when you're leaving games early and things like that, like I think someone like Wayne Rooney is talking about either like your performance or like you doing things like that. Ronaldo, in my opinion, it seems like Ronaldo's taking it like you shouldn't say nothing about me when you're a former teammate, and I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I think that Ronaldo, he does have points where he sort of recognizes where what he did was wrong, but I think he takes things personal that former players have said. But it's like no matter if I'm a former player, whatever, former teammates, I'm allowed to be critical of things tactically,
Exactly.
and I can also be critical, especially if like we're boys. Like I could be critical of you dipping on the field early. Like
your behavior.
That's absolutely called for, because that if we were back in the this wouldn't be happening. You didn't do that back then either. So like
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that he needs to like separate that and like because that kind of stuff is like you're just making things more difficult for yourself and creating unnecessary stress
Yeah.
on something where it's like, yeah, like like you're right, like I messed up, but like just I don't want you to really. It just kind of like the conversation be like, I kind of felt messed up when you talked on me like that, but I understand like you're in the right to talk about that because I was wrong. Like that should be the approach, not really the approach he had, and that was like kind of like that's when some of the parts of the interview I was just like, this is like this. It screams a lot to like the kind of mentality you have as like a player and like where you're at. Like
He's a sensitive. He's sensitive.
he's sensitive and he's the kind of person, especially where he came from, where it's like he's putting all this stuff on his shoulders to like motivate and get angry and take it personal. It's like you don't need to do that. You're 38. Let's chill out.
Ghetto.
Yeah.
Same with like what Neville said. I don't think Neville said anything wrong or like inaccurate. He was talking about how a player of his caliber shouldn't be, storming off.
Bad
Like
example.
yeah, exactly. It's like
Which is
it's
true.
not exactly. It's not wrong. It wasn't. It's not offensive. It's it was quite accurate. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Ronaldo emphasizes that he's not the person that does speeches or advice. He lets like his game and his worth ethic speak to being that role model. Well, you're also allowed to be criticized for when you have moments where that's not being a role model. Like, what kind of example do you set when you do stuff like that to the young players in your teams, like Garnacho, when you're just dipping? Like, that's a bad example. It shows that you become bigger than the club, and it shouldn't be like that when you're like, in those situations as a team player.
For sure.
yeah. I actually one of my notes is even the best players deserve to be penalized if they do something like that. Like sure, a 3-game suspension is
Well,
maybe
kinda
too
wild.
much. Yeah, but like, like you can't be getting away with that stuff just because of your profile or,
Yeah.
legacy stuff like that. So
Last thing I'll say about part one is that towards the end he did say, and I would imagine Holly liked this too. He said Roy Keane was his best captain ever.
Damn, disrespecting Sergio Ramos. I'm playing.
And he said that Rio Ferdinand helped him a lot and was
Yeah.
his neighbor.
I know him and Rio Ferdinand was super tight.
They were, yeah.
They
Rio
got
still he's
they got the
always
same
on his
complexion.
yeah.
Yeah, they're both Africans.
Exactly. Holly, did you feel Roy Keane my best captain ever? You wasn't like, oh yeah.
I felt that.
I mean, your favorite person is what's his name though?
Paul Scholes.
No. What's the other guy?
Lingard.
No.
Her favorite's Lingard.
No. The forward, the Dutch guy. What's his name again? I forgot.
Oh, Robin van
Nistelrooy?
Persie.
Yeah, you like Robin van
Oh,
Persie.
Persie.
You don't like these old guys.
No.
The Van Persie was
Like-
that's a handsome baller right there.
Do you feel the same affection for like these older guys, or not really?
To be honest, not really. Not as much.
Damn,
Like the respect is there and you know what they did, but
thought you was really about it.
Who was the Japanese player they had?
Who?
Mark Manu.
They had a
Park.
Korean guy.
Oh, who's the Korean player
Park.
they had?
Park.
Park. He was a baller. No love for Park out there in this interview. Damn.
We had a whole thing about Park. Where they used to they sing that song about him.
That's the one you talk about him? I'm playing.
Okay, let's go on to part two. You know what I mean? Even though some of y'all were talking about part two stuff, I won't name any names.
I think we both were.
Holly
Yeah,
every time.
Y'all are both
Jeez.
guilty. They started off talking about his Instagram followers. He asked him how does he have more money or more Instagram followers?
Piers Morgan,
Riveting stuff.
annoying.
Riveting.
Piers Morgan with the hard hitting questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did say that football has changed a lot in these past years. He said it's more. There's some things that get a little bit lost in translation because he went to Juve and his English got worse. But
he admitted it too. He said he worked on his English. I'm like, yeah, you do, dog. You sound crazy now.
I'm blaming them Northern Italians.
Yeah, me too.
But he said football changed a lot. It has become more like a business. He said that his partner Georgina says that, they treat the players like they're pieces of meat. And he said that the game has become a lot more individualistic nowadays. What would you guys think about that?
I mean, I don't think it's entirely wrong. I feel like that could be said about maybe a lot of sports, but especially football because of how globalized it is and how popular it is worldwide. And like, everybody knows the big soccer players is like more than any other sport. So I don't, it's definitely a business, and like it's a corrupt one at that, for sure, like
yeah.
all over the place. So I mean, I don't think he's entirely wrong there.
But like a little bit wrong.
Okay, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah, I thought it was a little cringe. Some of the social media conversations were a little weird, but just because I was like, "Here's Piers Morgan," we're just doing.
Caesar,
Piers
you follow him too. You follow him.
You okay, but like I don't. It's like the started off with the what's
So you're
more
one of
money
those
in your
8 million
account.
people?
Yeah, I'm half of like the planet or whatever. Yeah. My numbers are good on that one, but no, like I just was like, I think that what he said is kind of what we've been saying for a while too, in terms of like players are treated like meatbags. I mean, I think that like what Cruz said is before too about the number of times players are playing per year. Me and Bam, I remember at one point when we started this podcast, we had also talked about our first Copa America, and there's been like 5 in 4 years, because they had one year where they had like back to back, and that was supposed to be a 4-year tournament. So it's nuts now. It's absolutely about when they talked about the France final and the World Cup having 2.1 billion live watchers. That's literally like almost half the world's population we're talking about here. That's a huge number of people. And when they talked about contracts and TV going up in other sports like NFL, you knew that was going to happen the same thing in soccer, and you knew corruption was going to be tied behind it. There's all these documentaries coming out, which I haven't watched any of them because it's like, that's old news. Y'all been got here. This is old news about the corruption stuff. Yeah, so I'm not surprised about any of it all. I think the game, they use the word passion and love and stuff like that for the game as a selling tool now, more than like real advocacy for like the play and the style. Now it's all about like selling things and the movement towards it. So yeah, the game's of course changed to like be like through so much capitalism. It's crazy now.
For sure. Yeah, I think like we can all agree with that sentiment. I wonder, like, Pierce didn't ask him like what the differences are. I don't know if he didn't ask him out of maybe Ronaldo wouldn't be able to articulate himself as much as he wants to in English, but I wish that point was pressed on more. Like I wish that Piers Morgan would ask him like, do you feel like they play too many games now and things like that? But he was just googly eyes over him the whole time.
Jesus Christ.
So then they talked about the kind of more recent controversies. They talked about the preseason situation, about him coming back late. He mentioned that his daughter had come down with bronchitis. I forgot how he pronounced it initially. That was kind of cute though. I think he said like brontosaurus. No, I'm joking.
Come on, man. Brachiosaurus is what he said.
But he said that she got bronchitis. She was in the hospital for a week in Mallorca. And then he mentioned that the Man U higher up, he said he felt like the Man U higher ups didn't really believe him that much. But before I ask you guys what you thought about that, I do want to mention that they showed a picture of his partner on the private jet with the baby, and she was wearing a Fila shirt. I think that might be the first Fila shirt to ever be on a private jet in Europe. But anyway, like, are they rocking Fila like that?
Yeah, I wear Fila's popped off, dog.
Okay, first of all,
It's kind of come back a little
Caesar,
bit.
Yeah, I got Fila. I'm wearing Fila.
First of all,
I have a Fila jacket right here.
Caesar, because you wear it, don't mean it's popping.
That means it's dripping now. I'll agree with one thing an Argentinian does, and that's his wife or whatever girlfriend. She knew what's up.
Okay, so Fila's coming because I was like, damn, we're not
Fila's back, dog. I seen somebody wearing Fila shoes yesterday at Marshalls.
Yeah, thank you, because I was like, did she get that Fila shirt at Marshalls and
Marshalls is like a reclaimed shoes company here, clothing company.
I don't think I have Marshalls out there, but
we have
Marshalls.
Yeah, Marshalls in Canada. Damn, they're too big. We got to tear them down.
But yeah, so he did mention that he felt like some of the higher ups didn't necessarily believe him. He didn't say it outright, but that was like a feeling he got.
Yeah, it seemed like he discussed that. Yeah, I think it was like one of those things where it didn't also seem like they were completely understanding because I think he always compares it to the Alex Ferguson when Ronaldo's dad was going through it and about to pass away. He's mentioned that Alex Ferguson was like, go take a week, take off. I mean, just please, we need you, but family's always going to come first. And I think that kind of stuff that resonated him for the rest of his life, and obviously built that relationship they have now. Is that moment, that precipice, because his dad passed away. And I think that Ronaldo was hoping for that similar type of attitude when it came to his daughter. And when he didn't get that, I think that made him feel slighted. So it made him probably just believe like, oh, then you must think I'm lying. Then if you're gonna like basically kind of make punishments out of this or not believe me or make it weird, like, so I think that's why it's like there wasn't clear communication that they understood. So he just felt like that then they didn't believe him.
And you were saying too that it seemed like a toxic work environment in that case.
Yeah, I think absolutely. If you're in a situation where you're an employer, I mean, this resonates to anybody, and you're talking about a serious family issue, and your employer has an attitude of what they think you're trying to escape work. I think it's absolutely disgusting and extremely toxic environment, right? That there needs to be a separation of employment and life and family, and Ronaldo seemed to have takes that very seriously. I mean, he's echoed that multiple times in interviews. So, and you would expect, with what's happened in his past, is literally when he was a Man U player before, that would be reciprocated and echoed again, and it didn't. So it's like that sounds like, y'all, this gotta kind of split ways. This is not bad. This is not a good situation to be in at all.
So then he got into some of the stuff I think that all of us will be somewhat critical about. He talked about the preseason match when he left early. He mentioned that, and I think we ended up finding out like a bunch of players left early. That wasn't really that big of a deal, but he said he did kind of regret it. But then he got into the Tottenham match where he didn't come on in the last 3 minutes, and he also left the bench. He said that he felt provoked by Eric Ten Hag, and he mentioned that he was saying that Eric Ten Hag doesn't have empathy, and he feels like Eric Ten Hag doesn't respect him the way that he should. So Ronaldo doesn't respect him back. He did mention that he does regret leaving the stadium, but he said that the suspension was too long. I didn't think it was too long personally. Yeah, like what do you guys think about that part? Because that's when it started to get interesting too.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think he was right to get punished for it. Because at that point, like I mean, like I don't whether you start, whether you come on at any time, I think you should just play. Like it was like, what's wrong with sure, nobody of his caliber wants to be playing for only 3 minutes, but I think that's just very immature of him to do. And the whole thing about being provoked, I don't know. I think that's more of a I think that's more of a him.
Yeah.
That's hurting his ego. And, I don't think that's Ten Hag provoking him in any sort of way or showing no empathy towards what had happened. Like maybe he did it in another situation, but I don't think that is necessarily him showing that. I just think it was pretty immature, and the punishment was deserved. Like I said, maybe not 3 matches, but like it definitely deserves something.
3 days.
Oh, 3 days. Oh, it was the match. Yeah. Okay.
I'm the first one to say that I hate when they do like extra time subs and stuff like that. I unless like someone's hurt or tired, like I hate seeing that. Like, someone coming in for a minute like that, that's rough. And I think Ronaldo was also having like a timeline issue when Piers Morgan was asking him about these questions. He seemed like he was a little confused on like which situation it was.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they brought up, I think okay, like laying out Ronaldo's side, it's like, oh, like in a Man City game, I didn't play at all. And then you said, oh, it's 5-0, so you don't want to put me in out of respect. And Ronaldo said, yeah, but then you put me in 3 minutes left in this game. Like, where's the respect that? You can feel that way. You're entitled to have whatever feelings you want. But how you act on them is what constitutes being immature or not. And how you acted on it was extremely immature. Like Ronaldo, you no matter what, at the end of the day, everybody knows this. I hate this as a player. Like we hate this. When you're called on, it's like you got to go up and get up and go, because that's another situation where you're setting an example. Because if you say no to him, what if Garnacho looks at that and be like, I'm not coming on either. What the hell? Like that's what happens. It goes down the line. That sentiment is echoed. Like if I see my idol who's on the team acting that way too, I'm like, you know what, dude, he's right. I'm not coming on 3 minutes. I'm way better than that. That's because you approach it in an egotistical way. Like it becomes about your ego. You need to lead by example. You can have a problem with this, address it afterwards. Come on to the game. Give them the hard 3 minutes. Get your runs out there. Then afterwards, be like, I did this because I care about the team, but I would really appreciate you show me respect by not doing that again. Everything can be handled afterwards.
Well, Caesar, the thing is too, like goals get scored in 3 minutes.
They do.
You know what I mean?
He knows that out of anybody.
Yeah, like you got to strip your pride a little bit, because a lot can happen in 120 seconds or whatever.
You know, I could sit here and joke and be like, shit, I wouldn't do either as a joke, but like in reality, when it's official, no, I'm going in there. You gotta go in there. You gotta go in there. Like, do I want to go in there? No. But am I gonna go in there? Absolutely. And you know why? Because when I'm in there, I'm gonna show like you're gonna regret not playing me this whole damn game. This is to show how dumb you are as a coach. Because then afterwards, if he scores, what's the conversation? Well, what's up with Ten Hag if he has this guy on the bench for 93 minutes and Ronaldo comes in and scoring 2 minutes? Like, clearly he's not doing his job in the technical aspect of it. He needs it's that's why I said I think the toxic work environment inflates your head. He even said a little bit like, oh, like I'm like playing different because everything going on mentally.
Yeah, the energy.
Yeah, the energy. Yeah. You're letting things get to your head out of immaturity, out of ego, out of frustrations that are building up. And like you can't be letting that happen, because that's not how you lead by example. Absolutely not the way at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, the substitute, the suspensions absolutely warranted, dog. You can't be doing that, man. It looks bad. And is that the game he walked out too? Like he just straight dipped also?
Yeah, he didn't come on and then he
not
left.
only did you did a no to come on, you also dipped to that. You're wilding, dog.
Yeah,
you can't do that, man.
You cannot do that.
How many times have you been in a situation where you're like a friend or whatever, or like our practice, and then like they get into some altercation with the coach and just walk off the field? I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, we're still here practicing. Get back over here. Don't be. You look at that person like they're so mature. Like he's tripping. Like, you know, like you can't do that, man. You're 38-year-old veteran and a leader. You cannot be doing that at all.
Yeah. He talked about before this season, he felt like the club wanted him out. That they were, like he said, he felt betrayed. He didn't get into a lot of details in that regard, but he said that he felt like some of the higher ups wanted him to leave. He talked about the Glazers. He said that he doesn't think they care about the club. And I feel like literally every match, there's like some Glazers out sign or flag, if not more than one.
Yeah.
Piers asked him if he's ever talked to the Glazers. He said, never in my life, which I thought was shocking too.
Yeah.
I bet you Cavani's talked to the Glazers.
You know who I bet
Cavani would to sell out.
Well, you know who I bet they've talked to, because they also own the Bucks. I'm sure they talked to Tom Brady before.
Oh yeah, they've definitely talked to Tom Brady. Yeah.
They probably talked to Antonio Brown.
Probably text Tom Brady,
right? He's like, Piers was asking him what's going to happen after the World Cup with Man U. He said like he doesn't know, but and then he kind of mentioned that his decision to even go to Man U was more emotional than rational, but he thinks it was a good idea ultimately. So there was a lot there in that part, but I don't know what you guys thought about him saying he feels betrayed by the club and like they didn't even want him there. Like, I don't know what you guys thought about that.
I mean, like that's stuff that we can't really know. I think like that's all hard to kind of assess if you don't really know everything. I mean, I'll agree with him. I think everyone knows that the Glazers they don't care. They're just
you agree with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. They're just, they know nothing about the sport. They don't put anything into it like in that sense, in that regard. Like they have zero they don't have knowledge about it. They're just, rich businessmen, I guess you can say.
Mhm.
So, I and like there's so much controversy with them, like Caesar said earlier in the show, like, all that talk about them pocketing money, not putting much back into it. Like they always say United are in debt. It's like how can that really be possible? Like who knows what's going on? But the betrayal thing, like I don't know. Is it really the whole, like, is it really all of Manchester United as a whole club versus Ronaldo? Like, why would he
I
come
doubt
back?
it. I doubt
Like,
it.
why would he come back then? So I don't really think that's, but who knows? Who knows?
I think it was extreme for him to say that. Yeah, like when he says like, "Oh, they've been wanting me out since last year," I'm like, that could be the case, but it's like you're able to act on it. You had an off season, you know what I mean? Like if you're talking about it was an emotional decision to go to Real Manchester United, then it's also an emotional decision to stay. It's like it
Mhm.
seems like you're wilding out right now with these emotional decisions right now. It seems like you're losing the cusp of everything that's about your professionalism when everything you're doing is emotion based. So it's like you gotta get back on the horse and just get back on track, because this is not the way it's supposed to be going down. And yeah, the Blazers thing, everybody knows it. Every real fan knows the Blazers are whack. The Glazers are whack. Everybody knows.
Nike
Everybody
Blazers.
have seen. Yeah, everybody's seen from their purchases to the players they've gotten to like the moves they made. It's like all about however they can maximize the income. And if none of that's going back to infrastructure, yet they're consistently valued as one of the most expensive clubs, my friend, that smells of corruption to me. I'm sorry, because the money, they always say the money got to go somewhere. The money's got to be going somewhere. And if it's not going back in players and changing the club up, then we already know what the deal is. So yeah, this interview was made to be like it was gonna be like this AK firing on everybody. When the takeaways I kind of had it was just like it just seems like Ronaldo's been spending the last year and a half making a lot of emotional decisions. I'm like, damn, dog, like it's a lot really affecting your mind with this toxic work environment. And you got to switch that up ASAP.
He mentioned that. Well, Piers mentioned too that he got offered a 350 million euro deal from a team in Saudi Arabia, but he rejected it. But he did kind of say like for now or something like that. So I don't know if he's looking to go there next
Where's
time.
going next, dog? He's gonna be playing
Yeah,
with Talisca.
right. Um, but he said that. So this was kind of the big thing before this season. All the talk, like every day, was like Ronaldo wants to leave. Ronaldo wants to leave. He can't wait to leave. He's absolutely gonna leave. And for me, it always felt like he wasn't gonna leave. Um, and he mentioned that. He said that there weren't a lot of teams that wanted him, but there were some. Not even including the team in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm.
But he said like there were offers, unlike the media said, because when he didn't leave, they started saying, "Oh, nobody wanted him."
It was really that was really confusing reporting. Remember, it was like, oh, Atletico really wants him, and then they was like, oh, they actually never wanted him. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
and like
I'm so
Napoli
you
and
just
Chelsea,
reported that they did. I don't. What's going on here?
and that for me was like kind of like the bullying thing. It's like, dude, like you're just making stuff up, and then when
Yeah.
your thing doesn't come true, you just like make something up else that's like negative too. Like
Uh,
I like there's no player that I like hate enough that I want to just like say whatever bad I can about them, no matter what. And it felt like before the season they were doing that. He did have some offers, according to him. There wasn't a whole lot, which you wouldn't expect like every club to be coming for him.
yeah.
But he wanted to stay at Man U to make Holly mad.
Yeah, I know he has
Probably.
vendetta against Holly, and that's
Yeah.
fine. They can have their war. But with that situation, it was like I think that what's one of the more annoying things is you could tell Ronaldo's been like brain broken from so much media stuff.
Yeah.
Is that like I think that that's what makes a lot more sense to why he's putting people around him that I do not like. Because I'm like, yeah, when you're dealing with this media thing, he's becoming like the Tupac thing, the whole Tupac thing that you're talking about, Bam. So it's like the all eyes on me, because when you have that mentality, like it's hard to disseminate what's the proper path when it's like no matter what you do, it's like going crazy in the media. I think he a lot of people that care about the media like to say things like, I don't care what the media says. No, I'm pretty sure you do. And it sounds like it is affecting him a lot. So I think it's lending him to have kind of the wrong people around him. But yeah, I would also expect, I didn't think that, I thought it was dumb when they said no teams want him. I'm just assuming it would be a small list because not a lot of clubs are in the financial situation that they were before COVID and even in time. So
And
he's
he's
an expensive
old.
player and he's
Yeah, and he's
older.
old.
It's like, why would you want to do that? Like, I can imagine a select few teams that would incorporate and want him, but I'm not expecting it to be 30 clubs, calling George Mendes on a regular about him. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not like he's Cavani. What were you gonna say, Holly?
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess I do think maybe this is jumping ahead too, like should leave in January.
Oh, it looks like he's gonna.
Yeah, and you know, what's wrong with playing in Saudi Arabia for that shmoney?
Well, because someone like
Like-
you is gonna criticize him for that. That's why.
That's true.
Ollie's like, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Told y'all he fell off.
But you notice how
But
like,
realistically,
you notice how the talk about Messi going to PSG. Nobody talk about that being for money.
That was
But
big
for
money.
sure, if Ronaldo went to Saudi Arabia, they're gonna be like, "See, he just won all the money."
yeah. No, I agree with that. Like I guess there really is like a double standard when it comes to Ronaldo, especially when if you're putting
Ooh.
putting him beside Messi. Like there's a lot more negativity that always goes to Ronaldo's as opposed to Messi, but I still don't like him.
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I think it's easier to create and manufacture or like attack people that are vocal in comparison to Messi, who literally only speaks one language and he's 34.
Damn, dog. Damn, he
Um,
ain't have to do him like that.
No, I'm just saying, like, Ronaldo's always access to, has multiple languages, always making comments. I never hear one Messi quote in a damn life. Like, I can't give you a Messi quote. You know what I mean?
Well, we saw Messi give that interview.
Yeah, in
with his
sandals. That's the one
flip-flops.
time he ever talked in his career when he was wearing his flip flops, outside.
They're probably Fila flip flops.
No, he was probably wearing Havaianas. You know what I'm saying? But but no, yeah, sorry.
Well, speaking of, we'll get into the part about Messi in a second, but they talked about the World Cup a little bit. Pierce asked him like how he feels about the political situation in regards to it. He was kind of saying, and I agreed, like it's over now. Like they're gonna play the World Cup. Like let's just talk about the football. Like they were saying, like if you were gonna talk about that, like that's before they get awarded the World Cup. They already got it. Let's just play. And so Pierce like created a scenario of Argentina and Portugal in the final, and Ronaldo has already scored 2 goals. Messi scored 2 goals.
That was
and then,
so weird.
And then like the last minute, Ronaldo scores another goal for his hat trick. I thought it was really cute. Ronaldo was like, he was like, that's never gonna happen. But he was like, at that point, I don't care who scores the goal. He was like, it could be the goalie. I don't care.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's consistent with the Euros. I'm like, I don't really think he cares about getting a hat trick. I'm think he just wants to win
win something.
He just wants to win the World Cup, dog.
Yeah. But I thought that was funny. But he asked him about Messi, and he was very praiseworthy. He said that it's almost like Messi is a teammate of his at this point because how they've been compared to each other. He said he's really nice, and they're always really respectful of each other. He said that they're not like friends like that, but then he said, like Pierce asked him if they've ever had dinner. He was like, no, but one day we will.
He even said his wife is his girl is close to like them too because she's Argentinian also.
I think maybe
he was just saying there's an affinity, whatever.
I think maybe like Messi's wife like sent her something after the baby passed.
Yeah, he said that like he sees him as like a peer because the 16 years they've spent going against each other, and I thought that like remember that old video everybody loves of them sitting together and stuff like that, and then being all chummy and stuff. Like, yeah, I never thought that they were like hate each other. I thought they were like pretty cool about it also. So I wasn't like tripping off of that, honestly.
Holly, did you think that was cute or?
Yeah, I definitely thought it was nice. I mean, when two like high profile, you know, very successful athletes, when they have like that, I would assume Messi has that same sort of respect. So when it's kind of like a mutual respect, it's nice to see. And like, yeah, you never really thought they were like rivals in the sense that they hate each other. It's just on paper. It's just, all the
Yeah.
numbers that is what,
They
separates
don't,
them.
and they don't even like face each other on the field. Like, I mean, that's one of the
Exactly.
things.
They
Like,
don't,
yeah,
yeah.
like they're literally on the opposite side of the fields. They're doing their own thing. It's like not even like it's like
It-
he's over there doing that. I'm over here doing his back
yeah.
over here. It's not even like
If
that.
if
Yeah.
Messi and Sergio Ramos don't hate each other after all that,
Yeah,
then
then anything's yeah. I mean, literally, that's a
uh,
great point. They're like buddies now.
yeah. When Piers asked him is Messi the best player he's ever seen play, and he said yes, but he said along with Zidane.
Well, I thought that was really gangster. That was cool. I don't know why. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Pierce was doing the that was the same time Pierce did that little a little fanboy energy saying like, you're my number one. You're number one.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, dude. All
Yeah,
right.
that
Are
was
you
too
getting your
much.
chops? Are you happy now? You licking your chops? You excited about this?
uh, Ronaldo definitely said something that upset Holly when he said, would he like for Arsenal to win the league?" He's like, "Yeah, if not Man U,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, Arsenal."
Okay. But he did the same thing for England. Like he was just clearly saying some bullshit out of his mouth. Like he's like, oh, if not Portugal, it'll be England who wins. Like, no,
They're
they're
not
not
winning
gonna,
though.
neither of them are gonna win the World
They
Cup.
got 4 players
So
left on that team.
yeah.
He mentioned that he wants to play 2 more years and retire, and then he said something that I know Caesar loved this part. He talked about his relationship with Jordan Peterson,
Oh
uh, another Canadian.
my god, dude.
He talked about like how he's like so intelligent and something else. Like maybe there's a language barrier. Like maybe like he just don't really know
I think
what
there
Jordan.
He
is.
said he read his book.
He
Yeah.
didn't read that book,
He
yo.
said he read his book. He's old. Of course he reads books.
He didn't read that dumbass book.
If he read that book, you know what though? I was very gross. I almost threw up 6 times when he was talking about that. And I was trying to like press the speed button, but I was watching in Premiere, so I couldn't fast forward it. I was like, I'm
You were
stuck
live?
watching this live, and I'm watching the stupid headlines that Talk TV drops every 3 minutes. Like
Right.
this is abusive.
The
Stop telling me
NHS
Trump announces running every time.
NHS is suffering.
Yeah, this is rough right now. No, like yeah, so like when he said that, I'm like, first of all, like of course, like of course a top level athlete is reading all of Jordan Peterson's conversations about like primal and alpha mentality, like all this garbage, disgusting, nonsensical, transphobic garbage that he puts out there. Ronaldo's gonna read in whatever he can read in English left and think, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? Definitely, I'm gonna blame the country of Italy for this. Italy is the reason why he likes Jordan Peterson, because you destroyed this man's English. But also, it's red flag and trash. You like this man, and you're doubling down on props to him. And you said he read his book. This God.
I also
Ho-
saw a picture of
Yeah.
both of them on Twitter.
Holly, do you know about Jordan Peterson like that out there in
To be
Canada?
honest, I had to Google him.
Okay.
Good. This man
So-
is a slime ball,
And I didn't get
disgusting
that far.
person.
Yeah, I
Horrible
was so
person.
shocked that he was Canadian.
Oh yeah, big Canadian, big time.
Edmonton.
His full name is Jordan Peterson Williams. So I don't know. Maybe you're not.
What they say is the Canadians that translate to like come to like America for success. We either get the best Canadians or the most worst Canadians of all time, and that's one of the list of the low level ones we get. Him, another right wing guy, the TV guy we always talk about. What's his name?
Steven Crowder.
Steven Crowder, another garbage Canadian. Why do we have him too? Go away.
And Ryan Reynolds. No, I'm joking.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah. Mint Mobile, get out of here. Whatever. Cricket.
But yeah, that was pretty much the end of the interview. I'll say that for sure, this interview was blown way out of proportion. Like, it was like a bit more honest than most interviews from athletes, and it was more entertaining because generally athletes are really boring. He was being honest, but it wasn't like it wasn't as crazy as I thought it was going to be at all. Like I could have I could have not watched it. Like honestly, like it
Yeah,
wasn't that
nuts.
crazy.
It wasn't
Yeah.
that nuts.
Like definitely, and I almost want to go back and listen to what the people in media were saying, because they were for sure just like taking just sound bites and taking like quotes, which it's hard. Like people say, oh, it's out of context, but like for sure I seen quotes. I'm like, that's so out of context and clickbaity. It's just not fair, dude. Like if you listen to the whole thing, when he's talking about not respecting Eric Ten Hag, he's saying that he doesn't feel respected by him. So that's a normal thing. Like nobody's like, yeah, if you don't feel respected by somebody, you're not gonna respect them back. You know what I mean? Like Caesar's disrespecting me, laughing at his phone, trying to change it up.
I'm going over 20 minutes just for the show, so don't
Oh,
be
Caesar,
mean
you should have laughed.
No,
What the
no,
heck?
no, no. So don't come at me again.
First of all,
Don't come
Caesar,
at me again. Don't
First
come
of all,
at
first of all,
me.
first of all, first
I'm
of all,
going over 20 minutes for the culture right now. Don't
first of all,
come
first
at
of
me
all,
right now.
first of all, Caesar, you've left early before, so you could have.
Yeah, don't come at me.
You
though.
forgot.
I wanted the segment to finish because I care about the
You
show and I
forgot.
care about Holly's time.
You forgot.
He's not gonna
actually.
walk away like Ronaldo.
Yeah, I don't walk
There you
away
go.
like Ronaldo. I don't just walk off the pitch, dog. I stay.
Okay, well, what do you guys think? Like to wrap it up, what do you guys think of the interview as a whole?
I mean, like you said, very overrated or overhyped. We should say, like, because those first few clips that were released, you thought it was going to be some heat. Honestly, as terrible as Piers Morgan is, in a way, you got to credit him. We're at the time of recording, we are 3 days away, 2.5 days away from the World Cup, and this is what people are talking about, not the first match. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Way overhyped. Literally, it was like watching a movie trailer. It's like, oh yeah, like here we go. This movie's about to go off, and then you watch the movie, you're like, literally, you just showed
You
me
saw
all
the
the
best
scenes that were
parts.
good that were in a trailer. Like you just
Yeah.
that's why I don't watch movie trailers. That's why I shouldn't have watched his stuff. I would have felt better seeing those points if I never knew about the trailers that came out for this. It wasn't that crazy. It almost felt like it was at the same levels when I way back in the day watched Ronaldo's movie. I just felt like it was kind of that same energy where he never really raises. It's kind of like making points I would expect him to make. He apologized for stuff. He didn't. Some things I thought he kind of skated a little bit away from. But it was like nothing crazy and what I expect from professional athletes. So it's like, yeah, I just think that he answered and said a lot more about upper management than a player who definitely would not. Because I think younger players are scared and test their future. Obviously, he's in a twilight and he has a much more leveraging position to be able to do this, which is nice. But yeah, and I think that I think he's contractually saying like, oh, we'll see what happens. I just had a contract wise and like respect for like who his employer is. But I think for sure it's over. Like, yeah, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like, especially when the World Cup ends 3 days before the transfer window's open, like for sure something's gonna go down where they're probably already negotiating right now as we speak. Who knows?
I'll say this: I'd rather him like Jordan Peterson than that documentary that Kyrie Irving posted.
Yeah. I feel like the standard is so much lower now because Kyrie Irving's a big fan of anti-Semitism and like Hitler books. So it's like we're happy with you liking Jordan Goofball Peterson. That's fine.
Yeah, Holly's cousin. Anyway, we made it podcast episode 280. World Cup coverage coming up soon. Let's get Caesar to soccer.
Ronaldo didn't even give credit to Brazil. Piers Morgan had to tell him about Brazil. Think I didn't see that?
You know
Think
why?
I didn't see that?
He know who Neymar. He know who
Because
Neymar
he knows he's about
voted
to
for.
get diced up by Brazil. That's why.
He knows who Neymar voted for.
Yeah, that's why. Because he's a leftist.
And you. We made podcast holler.